Well, hello everyone. Hi. It's time for another fertility hot seat. Yes. I feel like I haven't done one in a while. But just so you know, as people are rolling on, so this is another fertility hot seat. Here's how it goes down. You have to request to join me live, and at random, I'm going to pick someone to come on live with me and get a free 15-minute fertility consultation with me. Okay, so who am I and why can I give consultations on fertility? I am Amy Raup, and I am the author of those 2 books behind me and 2 others as well. But yes, You Can Get Pregnant and The Egg Quality Diet are 2 of my best-selling books in the fertility space. I am an acupuncturist and herbalist for the last 2 decades. I've helped thousands of women all over the world achieve pregnancy and bring home their dream babies. Prior to becoming an acupuncturist and herbalist, I have a biology and chemistry degree. And yeah, I study functional medicine. I am an active clinician seeing patients in my clinics and working with women all over the world. I work with fertility doctors. I understand the Western side of fertility very clearly, and the Eastern side, Chinese medicine, but also nutrition and supplements. And so again, women come to me from all over the world and work with either myself or one of my online coaches, or come to one of my clinics and get the support that they need so we can help them get and stay pregnant. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity. You have to request to join me live, and then I will come in and pick one of you at random. Please, if you've done a hot seat before, do not request again. That's not fair to everyone else. And so you will be chosen, and then you will come on live with me and tell me what's going on with your case. And then I will ask you questions and give you some advice. As long as you are clear that this is not medical advice, and you should clear it with a medical member on your team or someone on your healthcare team, right? And so that I can guide you and direct you and tell you the questions to ask your doctors, and what I think are logical next steps for you if, say, you've had multiple failed fertility treatments or you've been trying for a certain amount of time, what could be next for you? So let's see. Anybody wanting to join live with me right now? Okay, I'm going to give you, I like to get a certain number. I'm not going to tell you how many of people requesting before I go and select one. So I also want to talk to you about, let's see, some things. So I love doing these hot seats because I think it really gets to show my real-time clinician experience, right? That, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and just so people can see how my brain works and where I go to and why, and the detective mode that I get to put on. And that's what a lot of people refer to me as these days, is the fertility detective. So that's kind of what I like to do, is dig deep, figure out the layers of the situation, and help you solve, because it is my firm belief that fertility is an extension of health, and health is mental, it's emotional, it's physical, it's nutritional, and you have to look at all the layers. And that fertility is also innate, and when your body's not getting pregnant, it's just telling us that something's out of whack and we need to bring it back into alignment for then the fertility to flourish. Okay, we have a handful of people coming in and asking to join. Okay, Audrey, we're going to go with you. Let's do it. And I also feel like you guys learn so much from everybody else's scenarios. Hi, Audrey, how are you?
Hi, good. I did not expect to be called on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take you by surprise? I feel like I always take everybody by surprise, but
I was like, oh, let me turn my Roomba off.
It's fine. How are you? Tell me what's going
on. My journey has started in 2000. I guess it started in 2017. I did become successful having a son, but we've tried again after we had him. But I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure.
Okay.
And was told I couldn't have any babies. It was devastating. And I it still makes me emotional sometimes talking
Yeah,
about it, even
it's
though it's been
really
years.
sad. Yeah.
And
When were you diagnosed with it? Before your son?
yes.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I tried acupuncture. I didn't have a period for 8 months, and then I got one, and I got pregnant right away, which was awesome.
Shush. Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you at the time?
34.
Okay. So that month, okay, that's amazing. And then, so how about now since him? Has your period restored normalcy?
So
Or
I breastfed him for 15 months, and I had a period the whole time. And then as soon as I stopped breastfeeding, then my period just went away for 5 months.
okay.
And then I got it back again for a few months, and then it went away again. And then now I haven't had one in 6 months again. So
Okay. And what are the things you're doing to try to bring it back?
I'm working with a naturopathic doctor. We tried doing the progesterone to see if we could get it started to test my levels. We tried that twice, and I still have not got a period. She had me doing the Vitex or Chasteberry, doing acupuncture, still nothing.
Any Chinese herbs?
Yes. I was on 2 sets of Chinese herbs, and I don't even have them in front of me. I don't remember the names.
Okay. And then has your like hormone levels been checked, like your prolactin, your vitamin D, your thyroid?
So I did have that checked, and everything was normal.
Okay. Okay. So
Except for
normal according to the
estrogen.
naturopath or normal according to,
Naturopath. Yeah.
okay.
Except for my estrogen was low.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now.
And what about like, have you had any scans? Do we see any follicles in your ovaries? Do we see
I
anything going
have
on there?
not scans yet. No, I have to go do that still. So
But you're traumatized to go back and do that.
I am terrified.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, one thing that I teach a lot about too is safety is important for ovulation to occur. And so whether that's like physical safety or even just emotional safety. So even for you of like thinking about that too, of like that terrified piece, you know what I mean? Of like, is this really over for me? And so, I mean, I would go, to the emotional side of things. I don't know how much there you've done work or if you have the time for that, but looking into that piece of just like, almost like reset. I'm sure the naturopath is doing work with you around like cortisol and stress response and things of that nature. Because it's like if you're in constant fight or flight and like, constantly worried about the state of your fertility or if you're going to have another baby or where's your next period and all that stuff, it does, like, the body has a choice every day to go down the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis or the ovarian axis. And so it's almost like a choice of like, do I have the choice to survive or be fertile and thrive, and not to say that you have to like heal yourself radically and never be scared again of premature ovarian failure or anything like that. But I would also in your head start to change that story a little bit of like, well, I did reverse it once. And so why couldn't I again? Right. Something to think about in my opinion, but because you can't, it's, are you still premature ovarian, POF, if you will, we'll call it, if you then get one period and then get pregnant and carry a healthy child to term? I don't think so. I don't think you actually fit into that diagnosis at this point. Maybe your FSH is high, but that's probably because your estrogen's super low. It's like, you know what I mean? It's almost like if we just regulated those things, but I just work on that story a little bit too. And then also, what were the differences with breastfeeding? Was there a weight change at all? Like, were you heavier when you were breastfeeding and now you're thinner?
Yes. I stopped breastfeeding. So I gained, like, in my pregnancy, 35 pounds, and I held on to 20 while I was breastfeeding. And then when I stopped, I lost the weight, 20 pounds, 25 pounds, actually.
So I would think about that too. Estrogen stores, fat cells store estrogen, and it's not like we need you, to gain back 25 pounds, but maybe to think about that from a dietary perspective of like eating, like, my book, Egg Quality Diet, I think really lays it out, but like really fat forward diet, like 40% fat in your diet, avocado, coconut oil, ghee, all the things, like lots of fat. we need cholesterol to make any hormone. Like if you want estrogen to go up, you have to eat cholesterol rich foods. So you need like eggs and, you know, you need all that stuff, the bone broths, butter, you know, like that kind of stuff to really kind of, and you won't necessarily, maybe you'll put on a couple pounds. But I would think about that too. And then also, what was the weight you were at when you got pregnant with your son? Are you around that same weight now?
I am 6 pounds smaller.
Yeah. So that would be, you were working with me. My goal was to get 6 pounds on you. And I bet you that would restore some ovulatory function. I would think about that. And
I have a hard time with allergies too with foods. So I can't gluten, dairy. I have issues with eggs. I can't eat sweet potatoes. I can't eat spinach. So it makes things hard.
Yeah, like some histamine stuff or SIBO?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried following your diet stuff and I struggle because I can't, like I see, it's like, oh, sweet potatoes. I'm like, what do I eat?
We could do butternut squash instead. You know, we could do like really, I mean, any vegetable instead. I like plantains and butternut squash. If I have to switch out, even though plantains are technically a fruit, if I have to switch out the carbs. But you could even try like maybe for you, and you know, maybe rice is a good carb for you. Do you know what I mean? And not be totally grain free like I recommend, because sometimes with my girls, if they get too skinny on my diet, rice is the first thing I add back in, and it usually works. But for you too, if you can't do the eggs, like, but you could probably do ghee, you know, obviously there's no gluten and dairy on my diet. So, but broth, avocado, right? There's things you could do. And instead of spinach, you know, you could do arugula, you could do kale. Oh, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
Are you there? Oh, okay. You love the bone broth, but you cut out for me. Okay.
I do that every day.
Okay. And I would pay attention though to your macros, like use MyFitnessPal and track your macros. It's a free app, and you plug in your food, and then at the bottom, there's like this more button, and you click it and it'll tell you like nutritional data, and you can track your macros. And you want your macronutrients, like you really want, you know, 40% fat, 30% protein, the rest carbs. That's where I would make your focus, and just, you know, make like swap out some of the things in the diet that you can't eat, that you're allergic to. But, you know, and you're welcome to, on the DMs, ask me some questions about that stuff too. And I'll guide you and direct you. But I would try to get that and like get that 6 pounds back on. And then make sure your vitamin D status is like between a 50 and a 70. Your thyroid, I'm sure she's on top of that. Your omega-3 fatty acid, like I would take a couple grams, like 3 grams of fish oil a day. Again, it's just a great fat, basically, right? And we see it really helps reduce inflammation, but it also can help restore ovulatory function. So I would think about that. Of course, you're working with an herbalist and an acupuncturist. I would continue that. But to me, it's probably, sorry, my battery. The weight piece might be a big piece to it too, because especially, it's almost like we got to recreate what you were doing for your son. Because some girls, it's a safety thing though, again, too, of like you're too, you know, and your BMI could be like in a great range, but you might be too skinny for you to have normal ovulatory function.
I never thought about that. Okay.
I know. I mean, I see it a lot, you know, it's like, and it's like, it's always trendy to be like low fat and super skinny. I tend to think that, you know, if we're having fertility challenges, right, I only see the women who are having the challenges. So if we're having, so I can't talk about the other women who just get pregnant and they're, you know, a size 0, but I tend to see that if I can get, you know, 5 pounds on them, even if it's not that they're not ovulating and menstruating, their periods might be too light, or they're still dry, like they don't see cervical mucus with ovulation, things like that. A lot of times it'll change the status pretty quickly. So if we want to get estrogen up, we have to think about like cholesterol rich foods. So, and there's a lot of cholesterol rich foods that aren't eggs. So you could like Google that. Choline is a really important ingredient too in your foods, which is in, it's in eggs and it's in liver. You could take the liver pills, you know, you could eat liver. It's in sunflower lecithin too, which is a powder. You can add it to stuff. But you maybe search when we finish here, like cholesterol rich foods and choline rich foods, and trying to get those into your diet.
Okay.
Because if you want hormones to work, you really have to give them like the substrates that they work off of. And that legitimately is fat. And estrogen is also, like I said, stored in fat cells. So a lot of times if it's like, it could be a weight thing, I would just try to get there and then we see. And then I would continue to, like, you know, work with the naturopath and work on the mindfulness piece too, even like some tapping. Do you know what tapping is? Like the EFT? It's, no, I have a video on it that I can send you on the back end, for fertility traumas.
I'm working with a counselor too, because I've been having
good.
hard time. So I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to work on the emotional side of it. It's just can be a frustrating process.
Yeah, it's hard. And it's like you got stamped. Like I see it a lot, especially with the POF diagnosis. It's like you get stamped with this thing and it's, I don't know that you can get away from it ever again in that sense. And it's just like, you know, something that's yours was taken from you. And it's terrible. It's horrible. So, I mean, you have to honor the grief and then also like, okay, what can I do with it? You know what I mean? And I think for you too, of like, I mean, I just, you know, you never want to like second guess, like shoulda, coulda, woulda. So it's like, I think get back to all the things you were doing for your son and then also giving yourself space to grieve and process all of this of just like, but I would work with you on like the reframing of that story. It's like, it's one piece of the puzzle. Sure, that was a diagnosis. And it's inaccurately given to a lot of women because a lot of women just get off the pill and their cycles don't restore. And then doctors tell them their AMH is too low and their FSH is too high and they're in premature ovarian failure. And then actually they can like reestablish it. I actually worked with a doctor who got that diagnosis. And then, you know, we're now working on like her second baby. And she was floored by, you know, her community and how they like they really did. They totally traumatized her. And she did a lot of trauma therapy. So it's like, I think too, for you, for that piece of like starting to shift that story a little bit, like almost like look at your son and be like, huh, POF, like really? Like, look at him, he's perfect, you know, like almost like get yourself to kind of, you know, start to question that diagnosis a little bit. Like that diagnosis basically means, no, you're never going to have children. And you did actually. And so who's to say you can't do it again? And I have a couple stories of hope actually of women with that diagnosis that have, so you can go on my stories of hope too and read about it. But yeah, I would, if you're not on the liver pills too, I would add in the liver, fish oil. I would do some castor oil packs, which really just, or even, I just did another video the other day of like the abdominal gua sha, which I have that on my Instagram. I can share that with you. That's so good for ovarian and uterine microcirculation. And it's just an easy technique that you can just do a couple minutes a day. But a lot of like some of my clients who are doing it, their AMHs are actually improving, which I think is also fascinating because AMH is secreted by the ovaries. So it makes sense if you're improving ovarian blood flow, you might actually improve AMH. But to think about like, okay, how can I take back the power here? Like it's instead of giving it all away to that diagnosis and that fear, it's like, okay, what can I do? So there are things you can do and you are doing a lot of them too. So it's like amplifying that and really almost just cheering for yourself more than like believing the bad story.
So I do the moxa now too over my stomach.
I love it. Okay.
Or to the gua sha too, or would it be another thing?
Yeah, I would do it in addition. You
Okay.
know, I mean, I know it's a lot of therapy on yourself with a little one running around. I'm sure, you know, like, oh yeah, I have all this time to burn something, and then also, but like the gua sha, like I do it like first thing in the morning, like it's on my, you know, bathroom counter kind of thing. Like I have like a little thing of castor oil, and I just kind of massage it in, and it's literally like a 2-minute process. It's pretty fast.
Okay.
So I would add that in, and then the moxa, you know, I'm sure your practitioner walked you through it of like, not too much. Like we say too much will burn the chi, just like a little bit to encourage. The castor oil packs, like could be another thing you add in, but that might be too much. If I had to choose, I'd choose the gua sha and the moxa and then continue with the acupuncture, the herbs. And then really think about like, okay, how can I get more calories in? Like it might be like some of my girls, I'm like, just add in a whole avocado for your day. Like eat a whole avocado every single day, and maybe double up your bone broth. You know what I mean? If you love it, like that's an easy way to like, okay, let's do that. Add some butter or ghee to that. So like fat, I add that and like some coconut milk, like to, and it's so yummy. Oh my God, it's delicious. And then think about, you know, if you're totally grain free, maybe you add back in like rice or rice pasta, rice noodles, that kind of thing to get some more carbs there too.
Okay, I didn't consider that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like we want to put some weight on you. So let's think of those. And if you can't do gluten or dairy, that's fine. I don't usually recommend it
Yeah.
anyway.
I guess I had another question for that piece. I
Of
also
course.
running work, and then part time I teach group fitness classes. I do yoga and I teach spinning. And I guess no one has really talked to me about this piece. And my naturopathic doctor said, oh, it's fine to work out as much as you want, but I really like to work out. And I'm thinking if the weight's an issue, should I try to slow down on that? Is that, I mean, with cardio and stuff, I just don't know. No one ever gives me the right answer when it comes to that. So I never know.
Yeah. I think like if, yeah, again, you know, knowing what I know about your case, I would probably go to more of like the lower impact stuff like yoga, you know, and teach your classes that you teach. Cause obviously, but you know, you can kind of like take breaks and like cheer each other on. My mom owned a gym. So I know I was a certified spin instructor, back in college. But yeah, so I would, and then for you on your days, that's like your workout for you. I think it's an important piece for the mental emotional component, but like too much exercise, this could be like an exercise induced amenorrhea in a sense versus this actually being premature ovarian failure. It could just be your BMI is too low and you're exercising too much. So, you know, if you want to look under every rock, I would definitely explore that. And, you know, I usually say like high intensity, like 2 times a week, and everything else low intensity.
What about as far as like weightlifting? Do you recommend that or no?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I like body weight classes. I think like the best. I mean, and personally for myself, but I still like some weights too. So I agree of like that could probably fall into those HIIT classes, or if it's just like more strength training rather than like high intense, like, you know, CrossFit style weights, right? So I kind of just think about it that way for you.
That's a good way to think about it. I guess just no one's ever given me, I've seen so many different doctors and people, and no one just work out 5 days a week. I'm like, okay, but I love to work out. So I need to know like what you mean by that. Do you
Yeah.
want me to, should I not do this? Like, I feel very confused with that portion because I've
So we
always worked.
say too, is like what estrogen, there's no estrogen in Chinese medicine, it's yin, right? And so we say in order to build yin, we have to like build fluid and you know, we really have to nourish and hydrate the body. And so my tend to go with like, I don't want you sweating that much because sweat is your yin fluid. And so you're just pouring it out there. So I have girls that like are in the saunas regularly and, you know, like they have their home infrareds or whatever. And it's like, okay, we got to cut that back like 10 minutes, a couple times a week, like 2 to 3 times, you know, so I would use that same mindset for you. But also like, if we want to gain a couple pounds, maybe it is that we go low impact for a bit. And I mean, I know we all know that like, you know, gaining weight isn't always like the funnest thing, but like if you think about it from like my estrogen's low, fat cells store estrogen. I could put on a couple, like even 3 to 4, because it's usually plus or minus 5 pounds, I say. So it might only be like 3 pounds that you need to get to. But it's just interesting that you had your period while breastfeeding. A lot of women do not have a period while breastfeeding, and then it went away. So I feel like the weight had to be playing a role there. And that also maybe breastfeeding was very soothing to you. I wonder if it was like good for your nervous system, like the touch, because touch is a really important thing for resetting. So maybe even just like, you know, think about like more cuddle time and, you know, that kind of stuff too.
It's very interesting. I never thought about these perspectives. Thank you.
Oh,
I
you're welcome.
feel like my brain is always churning
Yeah,
and
you're fried. You're fried. It's okay. Yeah.
add, and then it's like a cycle. And
Yeah, I would really focus on the weight. And then, like, now that you shared about the exercise too, of like cutting that back. And then
okay.
let's see, like, give it a month or two and let's see what happens.
Thank you. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome. Yeah, be easy on yourself, you know. But I don't think you're out of the game at all. You know, I think you can definitely restore this and get it back.
Thank you. That means a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
people That's hard when you hear
I
that.
know. I know. But that's the hardest part. It's like, and it's just that thing of something was taken from you without you having a choice in it. And that's so violating. So it's like, just keep working on that piece with your, your counselor.
Thank
Um,
you.
and just like, I just like encourage you so much to just like question the story. Like when, like they say we have 50,000 thoughts a day, 90% of them are the same. Like when that thought comes up, it's like, wait, but do I really have premature ovarian failure? Here's living proof that I don't actually. Like there's a person running around that's proof that you don't have it. You might just dip into this thing where your ovarian function, maybe you're sensitive and you know what I mean? Your body just likes it a certain way for you. Um, but just to start to like, or just even say, you know what, maybe that's the diagnosis, but I haven't looked under every rock. And now, I'm looking under more things, I'm discovering more things that I could do to shift. Um, and I'd gladly put on a couple pounds if it meant having another child and, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's how I would like approach it and let's see how it goes.
Thank
And
you.
people don't always, I think doctors don't go to the weight thing either when it's on one side or on the other because it's such a sensitive topic. So no one, weight and exercise, they just don't. I've seen so many fertility doctors, they just don't address it. And I try to address it just through BMI because everybody's so sensitive. So it's like, I want your BMI like and that's for you too, at like a 20 to a 22. You're probably an 18. I mean, I can't see you fully, but knowing like, how we kind of talked about. And so even if you just try to push it up the scale a little bit, it could make a big difference.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. I'm going to let you go. And I thank you so much too for being brave and coming on and sharing and letting me pick you. So thank you.
All right.
And I'm going to send you a few things on I call it the back end, or you have to message me first. So just message me and say
Okay.
like, hey, it's Audrey. Send me the stuff and then I'll send you. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. All right. All right, everyone. I have to pop too because I have a 2:30. So I'll send you all love. Mwah. Thank you for joining. I love these hot seats. They're so helpful and informative. And I will see you guys very soon. Mwah.